When I made my last video on PCSX2 against real PlayStation 2 hardware, the video blew up to a level that I never experienced before. Over 130,000 views is pretty unheard of for me, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who showed the episode some love. However, some of you in the comments expressed wanting to use emulation, albeit to replicate the actual PlayStation 2 graphics as closely as possible, and I mentioned to those people that the software rendering mode was worth a look. Pretty much all current emulators have software rendering modes to attempt to accurately recreate the actual graphics from real hardware, but does it actually do the job? To find out, I played a lot of games using software rendering on PCSX2 and my real PlayStation 2 Slim to find out. By the way, since my PlayStation 2 is a PAL model being from the UK and all, the tested games will be the PAL version to make the test as fair as possible. For PCSX2, I used the software rendering mode using bilinear filtering for scaling and bilinear filtering for PS2 texture mapping. The resolution was automatically set to match the PlayStation 2's original video output. The only thing I changed was the EE cycle rate, increasing it to 180% to see if we can speed up some of the PlayStation 2 games that drop frames in demanding moments. I will also add that if you are having issues with lag or the screen refresh rate, try enabling these modes here. They certainly helped me when I first set up PCSX2. The real PlayStation 2 Slim was run in pass-through mode for all tested resolutions. This was true for 576i, 480i and 480p. I used my trusty Sony official RGB SCART cable, and for the interlacing I used OBS's YADIF 2x setting. Oh, and the PCSX2 version used for this video was version 2.1.163. Now, let's see the results. We begin with Starsky Hutch. This game is a childhood favourite of mine, and I figured we could test it out. On the PlayStation 2, the game doesn't look too bad and the colours are decent with good saturation. Video output is reasonably sharp considering the low 576i output, although the frame rate is unsteady and drops frequently. When we switch to PCSX2, the colours really pop off the screen and have a different hue compared to the PlayStation 2. It is not a bad change, although I do prefer the original hue of the PlayStation 2. One area where emulation helps the game is the EE cycle rate overclock. The game is locked at 50 frames per second and it benefits from the smoother look. I found it more enjoyable to play on the emulator because of this. The PCSX2 emulator also looks slightly sharper, definitely something to do with how the emulator scales the PlayStation 2 graphics compared to the real deal. Valkyrie Profile 2 is next. Everything I said about Starsky Hutch is true in this game. The PlayStation 2 looks incredible despite running in 576i only for this title, and the graphics are well done. The frame rate is mostly steady and I enjoy trying this game out. Someday I'll go further than just this area. Oh, and before you tell me, I know, the Japanese version has 480p and 1080i support. Sadly, the PAL version I own does not support either. PCSX2 has slightly sharper graphics and more saturation in the colours, but overall, the differences are minor. The effects on the PlayStation 2 seem to be replicated well on PCSX2 using software rendering. Also, this game works much better on the MacBook thanks to version 2.1.163. I experienced no slowdown or glitchy graphics. Not bad. World Rally Championship is next, and this one is very interesting to test. In hardware rendering modes, the drop shadow for the car is always missing, and even today, this is still the case. On real PlayStation 2 hardware, the game should look like this. Now, let's try software rendering mode. It's pretty accurate to the game and the special effects used on the real PlayStation 2 hardware. PCSX2 looks a little sharper and the hue is different, but again, it is nice to see the game looking correct special effects wise in all its glory. As long as you use the software rendering mode, the game fully works on emulation as intended. Need for Speed Most Wanted is one of my favourite racing games and I just had to try it out. It works pretty well on the PlayStation 2, but it suffers from frame rate drops along with fairly common slowdown at times. Not enough to make the game unplayable, but I always wanted to play with a locked consistent frame rate to aid smoothness and gameplay responsiveness. Thanks to the power of the PCSX2 using the EE cycle rate at 180%, the dream is now a reality. Look at the two, the differences are night and day. Runs well too on PCSX2, very impressive considering this was quite a hard game to run for a long time. PCSX2 is slightly sharper in the graphics, being a little bit clearer than the PlayStation 2 footage. Soulcalibur III is a game I'm really starting to like playing more than 2 thanks to the better graphics and heavier use of post-processing effects. Just a shame my PAL copy doesn't support 480p, but it does have 480i, so there's that. When I first tried PCSX2 with this game, the graphics just looked wrong. They had a fuzzy look which I knew wasn't correct. I went to the emulator settings and used the anti-blur option and it was much better. However, the graphics looked too sharp and incorrect, so I went back and tried the screen offset option. Finally, the graphics looked correct and now I can compare the two. Once again, the two options are close, but PCSX2 is slightly sharper. The load times on PCSX2 are much quicker and snappier thanks to the overclocked EE cycle rate. Although performance in-game is exactly the same, so there won't be an increase to the hard-capped 60 FPS limit of the game. It's nice to see Soulcalibur III working in all its glory in software rendering mode. Now, let's try a few 480p games, and first is Black. I love this ultra-destructive first-person shooter game for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. It's over the top in the best way possible. The sound, graphics, music and overall enjoyment of the game is undeniable. On the PlayStation 2, the game is sharp and enhanced by the 480p progressive scan mode, although you can see dithering is apparent thanks to the lower colour bit depth of the 480p mode. It's a trade-off for the sharper graphics. PCSX2 looks even better. The graphics are crisper as expected by now, although the dithering is even more apparent as a result. The frame rate is rock solid. It never drops when using 180% on the EE cycle rate setting. What a great accomplishment from the software rendering mode. Resident Evil 4 was one I had to test because its widescreen mode is known for causing a bit of blur to the graphics. It still looks good in my opinion, although as expected, the output is softer than I'd like. PCSX2 is slightly sharper due to the way the emulator scales the graphics and the load times are better. To me, the difference is, other than the hue, is not too dramatic in software mode against real PlayStation 2 hardware. I guess this is a good thing for accuracy-minded individuals, and it does the job. Soulcalibur II is another 480p supported game, and well, this one is soft on PlayStation 2 using 480p. I would usually use the Line 2X mode on my OSSC to help sharpen up the graphics, and I was missing this feature when recording the gameplay. PCSX2 looks much sharper. The two side by side show this clearly, and you would notice this straight away if you played the two systems back to back. Quite surprised how good the game is looking on PCSX2 in software mode. The PAL version of Gran Turismo 4 was tested, and while the PCSX2 footage is sharper, it really isn't dramatic enough to notice when using the software rendering mode. Most importantly, the special effects that were missing in hardware rendering mode managed to show up here, making it look much closer to real PlayStation 2 hardware. And of course it runs well too, just as I expected. Here is Burnout Dominator, and the PAL version allows for 60Hz, so I used that mode. Between the two methods, the PCSX2 emulator is clearly sharper than the PlayStation 2 in this instance, and it always surprises me how even low resolution interlaced games seem to scale better using emulation. Keep in mind, I used bilinear filtering for both the PlayStation 2 graphics and scaling on the emulator. I expected it to be a lot more blurry, so it's quite impressive to see how much sharper it is against real PlayStation 2 hardware. I tested a lot more games for this video, and of course the sound quality, so you can decide which of the two sound better. Get yourself a snack and drink, enjoy the montage, and I will see you at the end.
But be careful, there are many of them. Attack the mosquitoes all at once with the homing laser. Attack the mosquitoes all at once with the homing laser.
Titans and 4 right. And 3 left. Into 6 left. And 6 right. Don't cut into K long 2 left. Into long 5 right over crest Titans. And long 6 left. Into 5 left and K long 3 right Titans. 70. Long 3 left Titans. And 2 left. And 6 crest 50. 6 left and long 4 right opens. Keep out through gate. And 6 left and long 5 right. Into long 3 left. Into 6 right over crest.
6 right into 4 left. 2 right. Heavy left into 4 right and 6 left. Crest. 2 right and long 3 right. 2 left, careful the junction. 2 left. Bridge again and 3 left. Fox 2, Fox 2. Missile hit. Locked on. Fox 2. Shack on the target. Fox 2, Fox 2. Missile hit. Radar lock. Mobius 1, Fox 2. Shack on the target. Radar lock.
You bitch! You aren't worth my time. You bitch!
Machine gun.
Action! 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 Danger! 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 Action!
Handbrake. Hit the boxes. Left into the tunnel. Overtake. Overtake. Through the gap. Hit the boxes. Through the gap. Hit the boxes. Brake.
Yeah! Abro.
And we're back! It's pretty clear the emulator does a great job replicating the PlayStation 2 graphics more closely when taking advantage of the software rendering mode. The performance is much better optimized these days, making the feature a lot more usable on many different systems in 2024. I can still recall the days when trying to use this rendering mode was too demanding for most people, myself included. We do lose the ability to upscale the graphics past the native PlayStation 2 ones, and the sound quality is still somewhat suspect, but for most people wanting to play their games, software emulation is a good place to start. Be aware that software rendering mode seems a bit more taxing performance wise, so do not expect every game to run at full speed if you choose to use it. As always, this emulator is getting constant updates, so keep checking in every so often as the fixes are often very helpful for getting more games to run correctly. What are your thoughts on this comparison? Would you use the software rendering mode? Tell me in the comments, and I will see you soon.